Chosen one, you did not stumble upon this message by chance. Heaven orchestrated your steps, guided your spirit, and aligned your timing to meet this word right now. This is not motivation. This is revelation. The Spirit of God has summoned you into this moment to confirm what you already feel in your soul, that your silence has not been wasted, your isolation has not been punishment, and your invisibility has been divine protection. You have been hidden, not forgotten. For while the world has overlooked you, the throne of heaven has been watching, preparing, and equipping you for a mission that requires you to govern without being seen. You are being called to operate in dimensions that few understand, to influence the unseen structures of power, to decree in secret what nations will soon manifest in public. This is your moment of divine alignment. The reason you feel this message pulling at your spirit is because your name has been spoken in heaven's council. God is saying, "My chosen one, I have given you the authority to command the government without being seen. You are my invisible warrior." This is not a poetic word, it is a decree. Heaven is establishing its invisible order upon the earth, and you are part of that movement. The Lord has hidden his agents of power within systems and nations. They walk among politicians, business leaders, educators, and decision-makers, but they are not of this world's hierarchy. Like Joseph in Egypt, they govern from the inside, unseen yet unstoppable. Their presence shifts the atmosphere, their wisdom alters policies, and their prayers move the unseen machinery of government. You are one of them. The invisibility you carry is not weakness. It is a mantle of divine stealth. God has placed you behind the veil so that no enemy can anticipate your strategy. The invisible government of heaven moves through those who no longer need recognition to fulfill their mission. Stay with me until the end. This revelation carries your next divine instruction. Before this word unfolds, I want you to take a prophetic action. Type in the comments these 3 words: I govern silently. Do not do it as routine, but as a covenant act between you and heaven. When you declare it, heaven records your agreement. It is not about visibility, it is about alignment. As you write it, something in the spirit realm shifts. Your authority is being reaffirmed. And while you are at it, like this video and subscribe, not as a digital gesture, but as a prophetic act of unity with this revelation. You are not just consuming content, you are participating in a divine activation. Because from this moment, you are stepping into the next phase of your assignment, to rule from the invisible domain. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will transform your understanding of power, leadership, and divine government. This is not a teaching. It is a transmission from heaven's throne. Before we go deeper, let me share something with you. Everything I'm saying here connects directly to what I reveal in the Manual of God's Chosen Warrior. It's a 10-step guide to help you rise in kingdom order, to think, act, and lead, as one called to reign. You'll find the link in the description and in the first pinned comment. You can explore it later, or click now if you're ready to step into divine leadership. Chosen one, there is a prophetic shift happening in the earth, and you are at the center of it. The Spirit of God is repositioning His leaders, not on public stages, but in hidden chambers of influence. This is the era of the invisible government of heaven. God is moving His chosen ones from the noise of exposure to the stillness of authority. While the world races for recognition, the Father hides His true rulers under the cover of divine anonymity. You have been strategically removed from certain circles, conversations, and platforms because heaven is building your capacity to command from higher dimensions. Do not mistake concealment for rejection. It is the protocol of kingship. The thrones of this world are temporary, but the power that flows from divine obscurity is eternal. Every kingdom operates by principles, and one of heaven's greatest secrets is this: the invisible governs the visible. The systems of this world mirror spiritual laws. Before a law is signed on paper, it has already been written in the Spirit. Before a ruler is appointed, heaven has already decreed who will rise and who will fall. That is why Jesus said the kingdom of God is like yeast, hidden within the dough, unseen, yet shaping everything from within. The real power does not announce itself, it influences silently. Chosen one, you have been assigned to this dimension of governance. Your prayers are policy. Your decrees are legislation. Every word you release in alignment with God becomes a command that shifts reality. Throughout history, the greatest movements of divine government were led by unseen hands. Behind every earthly throne, heaven positioned an advisor, a prophet, or an intercessor carrying God's mind. In the courts of kings and empires, there were Daniels, silent reformers who shaped nations without ever wearing crowns. There were Josephs, whose interpretations changed the course of economies. There were Esthers, hidden in beauty but moving in royal strategy. This is the blueprint of heaven's politics. God hides his chosen in plain sight so they can influence systems without being contaminated by them. The invisible ones are heaven's most dangerous warriors, unseen by men, but fully visible to the Spirit. Your invisibility is not a limitation, it is divine encryption. When God hides you, he is protecting your mandate from interception. Visibility exposes the strategy, but invisibility preserves it. The enemy cannot target what he cannot trace. God cloaked you in silence so that your influence would emerge from places the adversary does not expect. You are being trained to rule with discretion, to speak only when heaven gives you utterance, and to move only when heaven gives you command. This is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about mastering spiritual discretion. Those who rule with God must learn to walk unseen, because visibility is not always power, but discernment always is. Look at the pattern of divine concealment. Joseph was hidden in prison before governing Egypt. Daniel was exiled before advising kings. Esther was disguised as a common woman before saving her people. Elijah was fed by ravens before confronting Ahab. Each one was shaped in silence before stepping into influence. Their hiddenness was their preparation. So, chosen one, when you feel forgotten, remember that God is training your spirit to handle authority. The invisible season is not a delay, it is a refinement. God cannot trust public authority to those who have not learned private obedience. You are being fortified for the weight of destiny. The kingdom's government operates through spiritual intelligence. God plants his chosen inside corporations, councils, parliaments, and even digital platforms, not as mere employees or observers, but as divine ambassadors. You may not carry a political title, but your prayers are influencing those who do. You might not sign decrees, but your intercession is altering the outcome of board meetings, decisions, and negotiations. When heaven gives you an instruction, it reverberates through unseen corridors of power. Every divine whisper you obey becomes an act of legislation in the unseen realm. You are not waiting to rule, you are already ruling through alignment. Many of God's chosen ones have confused invisibility with insignificance. But the truth is, obscurity is heaven's endorsement of your depth. God hides only what He values. The hidden chambers of His strategy are not for the shallow-hearted, but for those who can carry weight without needing validation. You are not being ignored. You are being incubated. Heaven is preparing you to influence without exposure, to govern without recognition, to transform without applause. When you are unseen by men but known by God, you move beyond popularity into true dominion. There is a network of invisible rulers being raised across the nations right now. Leaders hidden in prayer, professionals carrying divine wisdom, prophets operating within systems, reformers placed in governments and industries. They do not seek fame, yet they shape the destiny of nations. They are heaven's undercover architects, aligning economies, justice, and leadership with divine order. You are part of that network. Every day, as you walk in obedience, you contribute to the spiritual architecture of your generation. You are building what others will one day see, but will never know who designed it. God is connecting these invisible warriors through the language of the Spirit. Even when you feel isolated, you are never alone. The Spirit synchronizes your actions with others across nations, aligning prayers, decrees, and movements into one divine agenda. You may never meet them in person, but you are all building the same kingdom structure. Heaven operates like a divine intelligence agency, unseen, coordinated, and precise. The moment you obey, the network activates. Your obedience triggers movement in another region. Your silence strengthens another warrior's mission. Together, you form the invisible government of heaven. Chosen one, understand this truth. You were hidden because you were meant to govern unseen. The visibility of men is temporary, but the authority of those hidden in God is eternal. Every moment you spent feeling overlooked was heaven refining your understanding of power. You are not called to be the noise. You are called to be the cause. You will not always stand in front of crowds, but every crowd will eventually move under the current you created. God did not hide you to silence you. He hid you so your voice could echo through eternity. Chosen one, the season of emergence has come, and the heavens are no longer silent over your name. A divine recalibration is taking place across the earth. The balance of power is shifting, and those who have been hidden are being summoned to the forefront of invisible influence. The silence that once felt like confinement is now becoming your command center. Every year of obscurity was a rehearsal for authority. God is awakening His hidden rulers, those who have been trained in solitude to legislate in the open, yet without exposure. The world is crying out for governance that aligns with truth, justice, and divine order. Nations tremble because their foundations were built without righteousness, and heaven is responding by raising rulers who walk not in fame, but in function. The chaos you see is not the end. It is the groaning of systems preparing to submit to the order of the kingdom. You were designed for this turbulence. Your spirit was built to lead in transition. The invisible government of heaven is now taking shape through your obedience, your discipline, and your silence. The structures of this world are collapsing under their own deception, because no architecture of pride can stand before the weight of divine truth. What was built upon greed and ambition is now being dismantled, brick by brick, through unseen interventions of the Spirit. God is downloading divine intelligence into His chosen ones, strategic ideas, prophetic insights, and new blueprints that will replace systems of corruption with frameworks of integrity. These are not random inspirations. They are heaven's policy documents delivered into the minds of the obedient. Chosen one, when these revelations come to you in the night, write them. They are seeds of reform. Heaven is not releasing entertainers. It is commissioning reformers. You may never stand behind a pulpit or appear on a public screen. Yet the decisions you make, the solutions you propose, and the prayers you whisper are shaping the course of generations. The shaking you see across governments, media, and economy is not destruction. It is purification. God is cleansing the stage before unveiling his invisible statesman. Corruption has matured to its highest level, and that is the signal that divine government is about to manifest. When darkness becomes arrogant, light is about to expand. The enemy has built his empire on the visibility of distraction, convincing leaders that exposure equals influence. But heaven's governance works in reverse. It flows through invisibility. God uses the hidden to overrule the seen. Every act of prayer, every whisper of intercession, every quiet deed of obedience becomes a legislative motion in the courts of heaven. You are one of the instruments God uses to rewrite laws in the unseen before they manifest in the physical. When you speak truth, deception loses its authority. When you obey divine instructions, invisible corruption loses control. When you refuse to compromise, a whole system begins to tremble. This is why the warfare against your peace has been so intense, because the enemy senses your jurisdiction, but he cannot locate your source. You are a mystery to darkness, a hidden embassy of divine order operating in plain sight. Understand this, chosen one. Your prayers are not whispers in the void. They are commands that move through dimensions. Every time you pray under divine direction, you are legislating outcomes that shape the earth. The unseen world recognizes your authority when you speak from alignment. When you fast, the weight of your obedience disrupts demonic negotiations. When you declare righteousness, atmospheres bow. When you speak justice, systems begin to unravel. You are not a spectator in the story of the world. You are one of heaven's active legislators. The scripture declares that the fervent prayer of the righteous avails much, and this means that your agreement with heaven is a legal transaction. God does not act randomly. He moves through the authority of his aligned ones. Your voice carries legislative weight because it echoes divine intention. You must stop measuring your influence by visibility and begin to measure it by obedience. In heaven's scale, one hidden intercessor can outweigh 1,000 public voices without alignment. But with this authority comes the cost of the hidden path. Many have looked at your life and failed to understand the mystery of your stillness. They mistook your quietness for confusion, your patience for lack of progress, and your waiting for inactivity. They do not realize that heaven's training looks like delay to the unspiritual. God was not ignoring you, he was sculpting you. Every moment of isolation was an initiation into governance. Every rejection was protection. Every betrayal was a divine evacuation from counterfeit alliances. When others walked away, God closed the door himself so that no impurity would enter your future throne room. The tears you cried were not wasted. They became the ink that heaven used to write your name upon the scrolls of authority. You are not emerging from weakness, but from refinement. Your silence has been your seminary. The invisible school of kingship has no applause, but its graduates move nations. This is the hour when silence begins to roar. The voices heaven once kept hidden are now being amplified by divine resonance, not by marketing or influence. The authority you carry will not manifest through volume, but through presence. When you enter a room, atmospheres will adjust, because spiritual governments recognize jurisdiction. When you speak, your tone will carry the weight of heaven, not through eloquence, but through essence. You will command attention without demanding it. You will dismantle fear simply by standing still. This is the mystery of the invisible warrior. His silence is thunder, his stillness is strategy, and his humility is the gate through which power flows. You were never meant to compete with noise. You were designed to redefine it. When you obey heaven's rhythm, every earthly rhythm bends around you. You are being activated now to operate at a level of authority where even your unspoken agreement becomes legislation. Yet, know this, warrior of the unseen realm. The systems you are assigned to influence will not yield easily. Just as Pharaoh hardened his heart when confronted by divine truth, modern institutions will resist your presence because what you carry exposes their corruption. Ideologies built upon deception will tremble when your integrity walks in. Political spirits, corporate greed, and spiritual manipulation will attempt to silence your authority. But resistance is not a threat. It is confirmation. The opposition you face is the proof of your assignment. Darkness reacts violently when confronted by authentic light. You will feel the tension between what you carry and the environment around you, but do not misinterpret it as rejection. Pressure is the sound of spiritual collision, heaven overtaking hell's territory. When you encounter resistance, stand firm. You are not called to blend in. You are called to govern until everything that resists God yields to His will. The confrontation ahead is not a battle of flesh and blood. It is the collision of systems. You are not sent to fight people, but to dismantle patterns, ideologies rooted in fear, greed, and deception. This warfare is intellectual, emotional, and spiritual at once. You will confront false narratives not through shouting, but through endurance. You will expose corruption not through accusation, but through purity that cannot be replicated. The invisible war is fought in thought, truth, and time. Every moment you remain faithful is an act of rebellion against darkness. Remember this principle. The enemy's weapon is distraction, but heaven's weapon is precision. Move strategically. Speak only what God authorizes. Withdraw when the Spirit commands stillness. Discernment is your most powerful sword, for in an age of confusion, clarity itself is conquest. You are not a soldier seeking victory. You are a ruler enforcing an existing one. Now, understand this truth in full gravity. God's invisible government is taking over the earth. The shift will not be televised. It will be spiritual first, visible later. Revival will not begin in stadiums, but in secret rooms where rulers decree in whispers that move mountains. Heaven is raising reformers who legislate in silence, teachers who shape minds with integrity, entrepreneurs who fund justice, advisors who whisper divine counsel into decision-makers, diplomats who speak peace where war was planned, servants whose faithfulness rewrites systems of inequality. These are heaven's administrators of destiny, and you are among them. You are one of those whose presence rearranges history. The kingdoms of this world are being absorbed into the dominion of our God because His unseen army is already moving. Chosen one, prepare yourself. Your invisibility is not concealment anymore. It is command, authority, and alignment. You were hidden only until it was time to rule. That time is now. Chosen one, hear this decree. Heaven governs the nations through those who appear to be ordinary, yet carry extraordinary authority. You are one of them. God never intended for you to operate by visibility. He anointed you to influence the invisible infrastructure of leadership. Every true ruler in Scripture began in obscurity. Joseph's influence was not established on the throne of Pharaoh, but in the interpretation of dreams that changed the destiny of Egypt. Daniel's authority did not come from royal bloodline, but from spiritual wisdom that surpassed the intellect of Babylon. Likewise, your command is being validated not by human approval, but by divine recognition. When you speak in alignment with God, laws in the Spirit shift. When you act in obedience, entire governments begin to realign, even if they do not know why. This is the mystery of the invisible kingdom. You command outcomes through the power of unseen decree. The chosen one does not compete for visibility, because he understands that authority is not proven through attention, but through influence. The more invisible you are, the more dangerous you become to darkness. You operate under heaven's stealth code. Your words travel where your feet have not yet stepped. Your presence shapes discussions even when your name is never mentioned. This is what the Spirit calls dimensional governance, the ability to legislate from a higher frequency of divine order. When God gives you an instruction and you obey in silence, it becomes a ripple that alters nations. You are not simply surviving spiritual warfare, you are redefining the balance of power within it. Authority is not a stage, it is an atmosphere, and you carry that atmosphere wherever you go. Commanding without being seen is the highest form of spiritual maturity. It means you have conquered the need to prove your calling. You have transcended the fragile ego that demands applause. Heaven can now trust you with influence because your motives are pure. When the Lord hides His chosen, it is because their visibility could interfere with the magnitude of their mission. God cannot elevate what still craves validation. But when you reach the point where anonymity no longer feels like loss, you step into divine kingship. The world chases platforms. Heaven seeks pillars. You are that pillar, stable, silent, and sustaining. The proof of your authority is not in followers, but in fruit. The evidence of your dominion is not noise, but results. You have entered the realm where obedience itself becomes governance. Do you remember how one prophet's prayer shut the heavens for years and redirected the destiny of a nation? That was not coincidence or religious ritual. It was legislation in its purest form. Elijah did not hold a political seat, did not sit on Israel's throne, did not command an army, yet his word outranked the throne of Ahab and reshaped the atmosphere of an entire region. The invisible always outrules the visible because the spiritual is the blueprint of the natural. What is decreed in the unseen becomes the infrastructure of what appears in the seen. You, chosen one, are designed to operate from that same blueprint. When you decree in alignment with the heart of God, creation adjusts itself to accommodate your word as if it were a law already written in eternity. You may never physically stand before kings, but your spirit already sits in council with heaven, participating in deliberations that shape the course of nations. This is what Scripture reveals when it says that you are seated with Christ in heavenly places. It is not a metaphor for comfort or safety. It is a statement of jurisdiction, a legal position from which you issue orders rather than plead for outcomes. From that seat, you do not beg for change. You enforce heaven's policy on earth. The authority to command has already been issued to you, but the key to its manifestation is confidence in your divine appointment and discipline to act as one who truly carries the weight of governmental power. Every decree you make in faith is not a private hope, but a governmental act that heaven records as legislation. Your voice, when aligned with God's purpose, becomes an extension of His own intention on the earth. When you speak righteousness, you are not merely expressing opinion. You are signing spiritual legislation that alters the trajectory of lives, communities, and even nations. This is why the adversary attacks your confidence and identity so fiercely. Not because of who you are perceived to be by others, but because of what you are authorized to become in the invisible government of heaven. He fears the sound of your agreement more than the size of your platform. Every yes you speak to God reverberates through realms, dismantling invisible opposition and weakening structures built on deception. You are not waiting to be powerful. You are already a carrier of heaven's constitution, entrusted with access to eternal law. When you release that law with faith, you exercise real jurisdiction over every environment you enter, shifting atmospheres and policies without having to announce yourself. This is the mystery of the invisible warrior, to legislate quietly yet decisively, causing entire systems to bend toward divine justice without ever seeing your face or knowing your name. Wisdom is the weapon of the invisible ruler. The chosen one does not need to shout to command. Authority flows through peace. When Jesus faced Pilate, he did not argue, because kings do not debate. The invisible warrior governs by stillness. Your restraint is a sign of your rank. When you choose silence instead of reaction, you demonstrate mastery over atmosphere. Do not let impatience make you visible before your time. Every divine ruler has a moment of unveiling, but the power of that moment depends on the obedience of the hidden season. Let your silence mature you. Let discernment protect you. When you know who you are, invisibility becomes comfort, not confinement. Heaven is equipping you with the resources to fulfill your assignment. Divine strategy is being released into your spirit right now. Insight to navigate political shifts, understanding to interpret global movements, and wisdom to influence without confrontation. You will be positioned in meetings, conversations, and decisions where your words carry prophetic weight. People will not know why they listen to you, but their spirits will recognize the authority in your tone. The invisible carries a resonance that the visible cannot replicate. The Spirit of God is establishing your influence not through titles, but through trust. When you walk in integrity, heaven invests more power into your voice. Every act of obedience becomes an upgrade in rank. Prosperity and governance are not separate in God's design. They are parallel expressions of divine order. To govern well, you must prosper under God's system, not as a pursuit of wealth, but as a manifestation of dominion. This is why the Lord is aligning your finances, your skills, and your relationships with purpose. He is positioning you to be a steward of influence, not a consumer of validation. Prosperity is the tool that sustains the mission of government. When Joseph managed Egypt's economy, his prosperity became the preservation of nations. Likewise, your provision will fund divine assignments. You are not called to chase money. You are called to command systems. Abundance is a byproduct of alignment. Understand this mystery. Every invisible ruler is a diplomat of heaven. You have been sent as an ambassador of divine order. You represent a kingdom that does not crumble, a throne that does not shift, and a law that cannot be revoked. You may walk among ordinary people, but your words carry eternal consequence. You have been granted authority to bind and loose, to decree and establish, to open and close spiritual gates. When you speak with alignment, even governments unconsciously bend toward God's justice. You are heaven's representative on earth, discreet, disciplined, and divinely directed. Your silence carries more authority than the speeches of kings. The invisible government of heaven does not operate by power alone, but by purity. Without integrity, authority collapses. That is why God has been refining you, stripping away pride, ambition, and fear. Because only clean hands can carry the weight of divine law. In a world of corruption, your purity is revolutionary. It is the currency of heaven's governance. Each time you choose righteousness over convenience, your spiritual authority expands. You are becoming untouchable, not by status, but by sanctification. The invisible kingdom does not depend on exposure. It depends on alignment. When your character and your calling agree, heaven entrusts you with influence that no man can revoke. The authority of the invisible is eternal because it is rooted in obedience. Those who rely on public approval fade when applause ends, but those who operate from divine command continue to rule even in silence. God is teaching you to sustain power without pride, to lead without title, to legislate without announcement. You are entering the realm of continual governance, where your life itself becomes a decree. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every prayer you whisper, releases divine order into the world around you. The invisible ruler does not wait for recognition. He creates reformation through consistency. Heaven recognizes movement more than noise. If this message is awakening something inside you, pay attention. Just like David was prepared in the hidden place before leading, and Nehemiah received vision before rebuilding, you also need prosperity to fulfill your calling. That's why I created the Manual of God's Chosen Warrior, a 10-step guide to break scarcity and walk in divine abundance, both spiritual and financial. The link is in the description and the first pinned comment. Click there and take the next step toward the prosperity God prepared for you. Chosen one, receive this as your confirmation. Nothing in your hidden years was wasted. Every closed door trained your discernment. Every lonely night sharpened your hearing. Every misunderstood decision purified your motives. Heaven has audited your seasons and found you trustworthy. The mantle you carry is not theatrical. It is governmental. You are being affirmed as one who rules atmospheres before outcomes appear. This is why the Father guarded you from premature exposure. He was protecting the integrity of your influence. From this day, see your invisibility as jurisdiction. When you walk into a room, your assignment is not to impress, but to align. Your presence is a plumb line. The Spirit will place words in your mouth that do not waste syllables. Like Daniel, you will interpret environments. Like Joseph, you will translate problems into policy. Like Esther, you will time your requests with surgical precision. You are heaven's quiet thunder, and your restraint is part of your rank. Begin to structure your life like a statesman of the kingdom. Establish a morning council in the secret place, a meeting between your spirit and the Spirit of God, where you receive the daily brief for your assignment. Close the door, as the Messiah taught in the Gospel, for the Father who sees in secret will reward openly. This is the wisdom revealed in the passage commonly known as Matthew chapter 6, verse 6. At midday, practice the discipline of interior silence. Pause for 3 minutes, scan your heart for agitation, and surrender it before you answer emails, enter negotiations, or craft proposals. At evening, conduct a debrief. What moved because you obeyed? Where did you react instead of rule? Which promptings did you ignore and must restore tomorrow? Over 7 days, your interior government will stabilize your external environment. This rhythm is not piety for its own sake, it is governance. Hidden order produces visible authority. Guard your speech as a legislative instrument. From now on, refuse casual words. Rulers do not speak to fill space. Draft a weekly decree calendar. On day 1, establish righteousness over your household and work. On day 2, call forth wisdom for decisions. On day 3, decree justice in your city. On day 4, speak integrity over leadership. On day 5, proclaim provision for righteous projects. On day 6, bless rest. On day 7, lift gratitude as incense. Do this not as superstition, but as jurisdictional practice, remembering the principle paraphrased in the book of Job, chapter 22, verse 28, that when a righteous one decides a thing, it is established and light shines upon the path. When you release measured sentences in faith, you are filing documents in the court of heaven. Expect alignment to follow. Expect resistance too, but remain precise. The invisible warrior wastes no arrows. Every phrase is a verdict. Curate alliances with the sobriety of a gatekeeper. Influence multiplies through relationships, and corruption often travels on friendly terms. From this hour, evaluate partnerships by a fourfold grid: truth, justice, mercy, and stewardship. If a proposed alliance violates truth, it will fracture your credibility. If it neglects justice, it will injure the vulnerable. If it lacks mercy, it will harden your heart. If it dismisses stewardship, it will squander resources entrusted to you. This grid reflects the divine expectation echoed in the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. Enter rooms as salt, not as noise. Ask fewer questions that flatter, and more questions that clarify consequences. Let your excellence be quiet, but undeniable. Punctual reports, clean data, consistent follow-through, and promises kept. Quiet integrity is the loudest argument in corrupted systems. Translate prayer into policy through prototypes. Choose one sphere you touch: a school board, a supply chain, a city committee, a digital platform, and design a small, ethical, measurable reform. Draft it first at the altar, then in the boardroom. Pray for favor, then present a pilot with clear metrics, equitable impact, and budget realism. If resistance rises, do not retreat into frustration. Upgrade your proposal with better evidence and cleaner motives, and pray again. Remember the king's cupbearer, who, before requesting permission to rebuild, breathed a quick prayer in the presence of authority. This wisdom is found in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 4. You are not gaming a system, you are healing it. Reform begins with obedience the size of a seed and grows into outcomes the size of cities. Heaven will breathe on what you build with clean hands. Steward your private world like a sanctuary of state. Authority leaks when your inner life is chaotic. Secure your finances with integrity, your appetites with discipline, your calendar with purpose, and your rest with reverence. The Holy One entrusts greater jurisdiction to those faithful in small assignments, a principle declared in the Gospel according to Luke chapter 16, verse 10. Set boundaries around your attention. Rulers cannot afford constant distraction. Fast from noise, not merely from food. Practice Sabbath rhythms so your soul does not corrode under constant demand. Honor your family. Keep short accounts of offense. Repent quickly, and forgive thoroughly. Bitterness is a traitor inside the gates. Prosperity will follow order because heaven funds reliability. Your life must preach before your lips do. When character carries your mantle, doors open that publicity cannot unlock. Now receive your commission. Lay your hand upon your heart and answer the call in faith. Say aloud, even if softly, I accept the mantle of invisible governance under the authority of God. From this day, I agree to rule atmospheres with purity, to legislate with wisdom, to protect the vulnerable with justice, and to walk humbly as heaven's envoy. I renounce the hunger for recognition and embrace the honor of obedience. I choose precision over performance, presence over publicity, and covenant over convenience. Let the courage of prophets, the strategy of Joseph, the resilience of Daniel, and the timing of Esther rest upon me. May my silence carry thunder, and my words carry law. And as it was spoken to the liberator who faced the throne of empire, a scene remembered in Exodus chapter 5, verse 1, let the command of the Lord go before me, that systems would yield to his purpose. Go now, leader. Govern without being seen. Chosen one, pause and breathe, for you have just received the decree that will reshape how you move through every environment. Let the gravity of what has been spoken settle into your bones. Heaven does not waste revelation. Every word delivered to you tonight carries an assignment attached to it. You are now responsible for a territory, whether that territory is a boardroom, a neighborhood, a digital space, or a family line. Authority is measured by stewardship. Do not underestimate small beginnings, for divine governance starts with consistency, not scale. The Spirit of God is reminding you that dominion is not an event, it is a lifestyle. Walk as one who carries unseen jurisdiction. Let every interaction, every decision, and every thought reflect your awareness of divine embassy. You are a carrier of kingdom order. Wherever you walk, heaven's constitution follows. When you act from that awareness, disorder has no permission to remain around you. The hidden path of rulership is not glamorous, but it is glorious. Many will not understand the peace you carry when others panic, the confidence you exude when doors close, or the patience you show when plans delay. But that calm is not ignorance, it is insight. You have seen behind the veil. You know that nothing escapes divine orchestration. The same God who hid you will reveal you at the precise moment when exposure serves purpose, not ego. Until then, keep governing from the secret chambers of prayer and strategy. Heaven's throne recognizes consistency more than charisma. Each morning that you rise with integrity, you strengthen the infrastructure of God's invisible government. Remember the wisdom from Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. The heart of kings is in the hand of the Lord, and he turns it wherever he wills. You are his hand in motion, gentle, steady, unseen, but decisive. Revisit the testimonies of Joseph and Daniel, for they are templates of your time. Both governed empires without starting revolutions. They shifted systems by interpreting divine codes. Joseph translated revelation into policy. Daniel converted visions into counsel. They did not fight for attention. They commanded by wisdom. Their loyalty to heaven made them indispensable to earthly rulers. That is what God is forming in you. Your excellence will be your banner, your silence your strategy, and your integrity your armor. Do not chase stages. Cultivate skill. When you master excellence in obscurity, God promotes you without negotiation. You are stepping into that kind of elevation. Quiet, strategic, irreversible. The world will not know how you rose, only that everything began to change when you entered the room. Chosen one. Let this final revelation anchor you. The greatest crowns in heaven are invisible on earth. The applause of men fades quickly, but the approval of God reverberates through eternity. When the last spotlight dims, those who governed in secret will shine the brightest before the throne. Your assignment is sacred. Do not trade it for attention. Continue to command without being seen. Decree without boasting. Build without broadcasting. The invisible is not less real. It is more powerful because it is eternal. The world measures success by recognition. Heaven measures it by obedience. Let that truth free you from every need to prove yourself. You are already validated. The moment you said yes to your calling, your name was recorded in Heaven's Book of Rulers. Your duty now is to fulfill that record. Before we close, remember that revelation must be followed by instruction. For deeper guidance, access the Manual of God's Chosen Warrior, a step-by-step guide to prosperity. This ebook is not theory, it is architecture for kingdom governance. It will teach you 10 practical and spiritual steps to activate financial abundance under divine law. Prosperity is not greed. It is fuel for mission. When the righteous prosper, justice gains a platform. Each principle in the manual translates prayer into tangible prosperity so that you can lead without lack. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Get it, study it, and apply it as part of your training for invisible rulership. This is your curriculum for divine administration. Now, as this message concludes, lift your spirit before God and receive this blessing. May your discernment be sharpened, your authority be fortified, and your peace remain unshakable. May every system that resisted your light now yield to your presence. May wisdom surround you like armor, and may doors open effortlessly because heaven recognizes your voice. Chosen one, you are not waiting for your moment. You are the moment heaven prepared. Comment below with the words, "I rise unseen," as your act of agreement. Like this message and subscribe, not as habit, but as declaration that you belong to heaven's hidden government. And to those who have already supported the mission through Buy Me a Coffee, your seed is seen by God. Thank you for sustaining this prophetic work. If you feel led to contribute, the link awaits you below. Sow not as charity, but as covenant. Go now, invisible warrior, under the command of the Most High. Govern atmospheres without fanfare. Influence systems with integrity. Walk through nations as wind, felt but unseen, unstoppable yet peaceful. Let every step echo the decree of heaven spoken to Moses before Pharaoh. Thus says the Lord, "Let my people go." The same authority flows through you now. As you move forward, remember, power that hides is power that endures. Heaven watches, the earth awaits, and destiny salutes your obedience. Rule well, chosen one. Rule without being seen.